Welcome back. Today we are going to talk about the Thieaudio Ghost headphones. So here they are up close, and I think they look fine. These are open back. That is a 40mm Sapphire driver, which we can kind of barely get a glimpse of. But I think essentially that is the special bit of the Ghost. I think the build itself, pretty reasonable. I think the biggest complaint was these don't actually swivel, but they do tilt in and out. Padding is actually fine, padded headband. So yeah, I think build-wise, not too bad. I think about what should be expected at $130. This is the price point. So dual 3.5mm connectors. The cable itself is actually flat, which you don't see all that often. So it's kind of see it easier there, but it actually kind of rolls up like a flat ribbon cable, which is actually pretty cool. You actually do get a big 6.5 to 3.5 millimeter adapter as well, and you get this case as well. So looking at the graph, and thank you to VSG for measuring this set, you can kind of see basically what's happening without staring too hard at it. So open back, sub bass roll off. I don't think that will surprise anyone. The treble roll off, probably not as much as the sub bass roll off, but I think it is noticeable and pretty flat through the middle. So if I would have described the Ghost, even without looking at the graph, music that's in that range is very, very, very nice. Anything that relies on too much sub bass, too much treble, not quite the level to support those kind of tracks, but everything right there in the middle is actually pretty good. So let's kind of jump into some pros and cons. So again, I'm not really a headphone collector, so I really won't judge the build too hard, especially or the comfort compared to other sets. I don't have many other sets. I had no problem with the build or the comfort on it. But is it better and more comfortable than anything else? I have no idea, but I never felt the need to take it off and rest my head or rest my ears. Pros. So I do think if you are mid-centric, like I said, if most of your tracks lie right there in the middle, you are mid-centric, and these actually sound very good in that bit. As I said, the bass is a little bit rolled off and light, and that really lets the mid shine. There's nothing really to cloud the mids. They are there kind of in all their glory. For an IEM person like myself, I do enjoy the technical aspects of Ghost probably more than the musicality. This flat signature with this driver, with that bass roll-off, I really found myself listening to that Sapphire driver more than enjoying the music sometimes. For an IEM person, it's kind of fun just to hear how, because I think this graph actually makes a lot of sense. And if you're an IEM person and you're used to seeing pin gain between 1 and 2 or 3, and you just see this kind of flat with a very mild rise, and then you hear it in real life on a headphone, it kind of makes perfect sense, and also is a very natural presentation, especially if you're used to hearing budget IEMs, which the pin gain is all over the place. It's very nice to have a reference style tuning like this, which is very flat, and you can kind of get a sense of where IEMs really should be, but most companies tend to overdo the pin compensation. Not too many actually do it under, but many do it over, and it's really nice to have a pair of headphones to kind of reset your brain as to what it really should sound like. And again, for lower bass, it really feeds into listening to those mids, like I said, without too much bass in there to interfere. You're hearing a lot of mids. Sapphire driver seems very good to me. Again, when you're just listening to right in that mid part, I think it actually does sound very clean and clear. Very nice. So I'm not a headphone collector, but I do think the Ghost description matches what you'd find on many open backs at this price range. And I think that's a little bit what really happened on this guy, is you had two headphones released in similar time points, right? So the Harmonic Dyne Athena and the Ghost came out in very similar times. And one was probably going to get lost in the shuffle of both sets getting launched. And I think both maybe got lost a little bit. Hard to say what really happened, but yeah, I think it was. I don't think this one does anything different than really anything else does. It certainly has a Sapphire driver, and that's a little bit unique. But as far as providing a sound that's any different or beyond what the price point you would assume, I'm not sure it really hit that. So build seems okay, and I do I think, that's fine. If they didn't want to put swivel cups on it and spent money where it belongs on the Sapphire driver, I think that was a pretty wise thing to do. And I don't really think this one is all that easy to drive. I think I definitely went towards my desktop gear and not portable gear, and even had to turn up my desktop topping quite a bit to get these guys going where they should be. Sound-wise, like we already talked about, a little sub-bass light, a little bit of roll-off there, kind of flat and neutral from there, with really that emphasis right in the mids. That bass, that sub-bass roll-off and mid-bass provides that minimal amount of support in the mids. It's a bit too light for rock, but it's passable, and I think that's what I was sort of noticed. That mid-bass, when it's called for, it kind of falls in place, and a track maybe like Harry Styles' Golden, it actually comes there in place, but generally it's a bit little light for most tracks. The mids, without that big bass presence, that's really the sound really starts right in the mids. It's the most noticeable thing right away. Not much warmth carried into the mids. Like I said, the bass is kind of tame, doesn't bring a whole lot of warmth, and you end up with this very clean, clear sound for the mids. I think that will be attractive to some people, and some people will definitely want a little more bass presence, a little more warmth, a little more chill, relaxing kind of sound. It's somewhat musical, but that clarity is really what you notice right away in the mids. Just this clean, clear mids. Clean, clear mids, but not as organic as I was expecting. Big driver. Being an IM guy, I was sort of hoping to hear that a little warmer, more organic, natural sound. And this one maybe leans a little more analytic, a little more clean and clear. Treble, like the bass, it really falls back into dim territory on Harry Styles' Golden. That opening cymbal, it just needs a little more energy. And then again, as I said, the mid bass actually falls in place when it's really called for in a track like that. And the treble itself didn't really rise to meet the occasion. The whole thing just sounds a little bit darker than I was expecting. But as far as what it sounds like on most dynamic drivers on IEMs, they pretty much got that right, because that track is a bit hard for most dynamic drivers, and this one is kind of right along with everything else. Stage, again, nice projection. You've got open back, nice projection around your head, and I would say it was very similar to where instrument locations are on some of my better IEMs. So that's what I got on Ghost. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.